Hello and welcome to another video. As you very well know, we are covering The Rings of Power in anticipation to its release come this next September the 2nd, and there are lots and lots of news over there. Seems like they are trying to rush everything in the last month that they have left before they release this. And one of the most curious and interesting ones that I have seen during these last days is that one in which Peter Jackson, the Lord of the Rings trilogy director, claims that the Rings of Power production ghosted him when he was asked whether he would like to be involved and maybe even provide some input in the Rings of Power. He claimed that he could not do that unless he could take a look at those scripts. They promised to send them over to him, and they never really did. And while it is hilarious and for some outrageous that they first ask for his involvement only for him to be ghosted this way, I think that there is more here than meets the eye, really, because some people forget that as opposed to the rights to the Lord of the Rings, Amazon acquired the rights from the Tolkien estate themselves, and they, at least at first, wanted to be involved in this, and they did not allow for Peter Jackson to be involved, because from the very beginning they didn't like him when he met them in order to let them know about what he was trying to create with the Lord of the Rings back in the day. They just rejected him, and he didn't try again. So it is pretty obvious that the Tolkien estate, at some point or another, they also put their foot down and they said, well, this is not going to go, and that's why Amazon didn't even try to go and look for him, because, I mean, it's evident they don't want to get into any lawsuits or anything. They just want to make money out of this, not to waste more on that, So I think that that's the end of it. But what I want to draw attention to is a little piece of news that we got, and this one is thanks to Bounded Into Comics, that is connected to one of my previous videos where we talked about an interview that the actors Nazanin Boniadi and Ismael Cruz Cordova had for Screen Rant, and how Boniadi said that the writers had given their characters agency, especially the female characters, and she now claims that there was no real tokenization of casting the characters in this thing. So we're going to take a look at that, because I think that it's all full of crap. So let's dive into it. According to the article, Boniadi spoke to Entertainment Weekly, and she said the following, quote, "This was not stone casting. This isn't tokenization, or a lot of the things that we are used to in past roles. Every person has been cast because they are the best people for those roles, regardless of ethnicity and race, and I find that super empowering," end quote. Here we have what I would call the first issue with this narrative, and that is that it's contradicting what the cast said before. Sofia Nonveite, Ismael Cruz Cordova, and Boniadi herself. If you pay attention to what Nonveite has been saying for the last month or so, she always talks about the agenda. She always talks about the diversity in the show and representation, and how important it is, because she is the first quote-unquote female dwarf on screen. And she also makes a point of this being the first role for a person that is playing a dwarf of color, the first dwarf of color, or some dumb crap like that. So if you analyze what Boniadi is saying right now, it doesn't add up to what the rest of the cast has been saying. And it also contradicts what now they are saying from the showrunners camp. If you remember, it was, I think, McKay who stated that the show was not going to be political. Yet, the talking point for everyone in the cast has been how diverse this show is, how much representation it has got. And for Nonveite, it's the only thing that she talks about all the time. There is nothing more that she can say other than how important this is for others, because it opens up this otherwise inaccessible world to them, as if Tolkien's work had not been already translated to 60 plus languages or something like that, you know? And as for Bunyady's own words, she stated before that she was also happy and thankful to the writers for giving every woman agency. Like they don't serve the men around them anymore and stuff like that, you know. So it's all about women taking center stage. I mean, if you pay attention, it seems as if Galadriel is the main cast, the main role to be played in this thing. And of course, it's all going to revolve around the powerful women like Tarmiriel and Galadriel getting together and discussing the evil that is coming to this world and stuff like that. And it wouldn't surprise us if all these women in the end get together to defeat that evil they are talking about. The second problem that I see with this is that Jennifer Solke, who is the Amazon Studios head, mentioned before in 2021 actually that there was going to be a change in policy on the Amazon Studios playbook in regards to how they were going to address inclusion, and she said that they had established an inclusion policy and all the Amazon Studios productions should commit to this thing in order to further diversity and all that. And also, thanks to Boundary into Comics, we have bits of what these policies and playbook say about inclusion. One of the points, amongst the points in the policy, one says, quote, each film or series with a creative team of 3 or more people in above-the-line roles, directors, writers, producers, should ideally include a minimum of 30% women and 30% members of an underrepresented racial ethnic group. This aspirational goal will increase to 50% by 2024, which means that they are trying to further the cause and, of course, the agenda of minorities and women all the time. And, well, you might say, well, it doesn't really have anything to do with what happens on the screen, but it's just a sign, it's an indication that they are pushing for diversity and agenda. And if you think that that does not affect, let's look at other points that we've got here. It is one interesting that says that casting actors whose identity aligns with the character they will be playing, be it gender identity, nationality, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, disability, all of that. And as you can very well see, this has not been respected in all of their productions, as they made some changes in the Wheel of Time that contradicted this point. But they have also tried to diversify the characters and of course also the actors that play those characters by trying to connect. Well, if we are going to have this gay character, then a gay person should play it. If we are going to have this trans character, then a trans person should play it, and stuff like that, which, as I have said, is almost not followed by them to the letter. And another point that I want to draw attention to is this, which says that they are aiming to include one character from each of the following categories in speaking roles, with a minimum of 50% of these being women, LGBT blah blah blah, person with disability, underrepresented ethnic and cultural groups, etc, etc, with speaking roles, of course. Which means also that it's one of the reasons behind the logic, the rationale, that we should have more women interacting with each other, and passing the Bechdel test, of course, and perhaps even the reason that we have Tarmiriel talking to Galadriel about this evil that is coming to destroy the world, all that in the trailers that we have seen so far for the Rings of Power. Regardless of the logic behind this, it clearly is not in line with Tolkien and in line with what they are thinking and what they are promoting with their productions. As for Amazon's playbook, we have these 3 points that I want to draw attention to: ensure diverse representation of talent in front and behind the camera, destroy the barriers for success in the industry, and tell inclusive stories. That is their narrative. That is what they are trying to push. That's what they are pursuing. So, if that is all they care about, it stands to reason that their productions, such as the Rings of Power, with such a high, let's say, potential for drawing a huge audience, is going to be uh, tokenized in this way. I just said it, tokenized. So, Boniari, I think that your words are moot. And they are just trying to push for whatever the showrunners were trying when they say, oh no, this is not going to be political at all. But we already know that that's not going to be the case, provided that many a times the cast has spoken that it is representation and diversity, the thing which is going to stand tall in this production. In the end, what Boniadi's comment is trying to achieve, to accomplish, is to have people talk about this thing, because that's the only thing that marketing can think of. If people are discussing the show, then it's going to be a sheer success, and that's all they really care about. They are sparking controversy so that people continue talking about it, so that people can continue giving it the time of day. But at the end of the day, if nobody watches this thing, despite how much it has been talked about or how much it has been discussed, then it really is not successful for them. Which is why I always make these videos and end them telling you all that if you really care about this lore and what happens to it, stop watching and do not even give it the opportunity. Vote with your wallet. That's the only language these people understand. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.